folks, if you're looking for a great show, you're saying, I don't know what show to listen to. Stop listening to Fox News and start listening to Patriot Strong Podcast. Stop listening to fake media and Newsweek and Newsmax and start listening to the Patriot Strong Podcast. Make it your daily mission to listen to this podcast and share it with your friends. Thank you so much, Courtney. Have a great day.
You guys, no less than, I swear, 50 times were you guys sending me this viral video, tagging me in it, sending it to the Patriot Strong over on Facebook, all the things. You asked, I contacted a friend who set me up with Miki. So here we are. You guys, thank you so much for joining this episode of Patriot Strong. I know that you guys are ready for it. I'm ready for it. I am joined tonight by Miki Klan. She has been all over the news. She's been in the news before. If you guys are familiar with Bonds for the Win, if not, that's okay. She's going to go into that. But in recent years, she's shared her knowledge about the surety bonds and how much they can really affect, the civil servants who are working for us. With her fight, she has freed millions of children from those stupid protocols that the boards of education and all the school districts tried to enforce during COVID. And now you guys already know what's going around. She served the Board of Supervisors in Maricopa County, and she is going to share all of that information tonight. So, Miki, thank you so much for joining me. It is a pleasure, honor, and I'm so thrilled to be talking to you tonight.
Thanks, Courtney, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, for my audience who might, on the off chance that they don't know your name or Bonds for the Win to start off, can we kind of backpedal and do a history of you?
Absolutely. Well, so just like every other parent in the world, it had been like a year and a half, almost 2 years, and my kids were still being masked. And I could not believe that there wasn't even a single exemption. They were just holding so strong on these masks. And so I called up my friend Ann LaFleur she's basically working the front line, just like everyone else on Telegram, trying to get to the bottom of this mess. And she said to me, Miki, these people are licensed, bonded, and insured, meaning they have to have an oath of office to we the people. Secondly, they have to be bonded, because if you're a public servant, you got to put some skin in the game. In the original Constitution, it said that you had to put up collateral if you were going to be a servant. You had to put your house up or your car up, or you had to carry surety, meaning if I do harm, I'm personally liable. And I could get into the bond side of things, but I think right now that makes sense. Like, right, it's just, you have to carry surety to the people or else you're harming us. And third, they have to carry a liability policy. Okay. So once we realized that, the thing we did was just myself and two other friends of mine. I had a girlfriend in Illinois. I had a girlfriend in Northern Carolina, and me. We were all trying to send in FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests, to gather these three things. And as public servants, they have to give it to you. So the oath of office, the bond, and the liability policy. Well, it turns out in Arizona, the oath of office that we gathered for each of these public servants, this is the school board, school district, Scottsdale Unified School District. They gave us the bond. The bond covered all of Arizona because it was Ducey's bond, right? So once we got a hold of that bond, we put it online. And I served my school district, and I basically served them a letter of intent that said, look, you guys are breaking 27 state, national, and international laws. You are covered by this bond, which means you're each personally liable for $100,000 per person who serves you. Okay, so knock it off. Drop the masks now, or we'll file a claim against you. Okay, well, they would almost always run out of the boardroom, Courtney. They would run out of the boardroom, turn off the lights. They didn't want to get served. They didn't want to be held accountable for their actions. And by the way, in Scottsdale School District, these are people that are managing the public safety for 25,000 children. That's a lot of children that they're masking. You know what I'm saying? And it's not safety to mask them. And it certainly wasn't safety that they were pushing these vaccines. And at the time, they were starting to almost force vaccinate kids in Oregon and Washington. So parents were up in arms. We were looking for a way out of this. And so next thing you know, once I served my school board, they went back and came back 7 days later and voted no more masks. Now, they didn't make it obvious. They put it in the fine print, from this day forth, masks will be optional. But everyone was ready to rip them off. So within like 3 weeks, there were no more masks in that school. So what I did was I put the process, Anne and I started Bonds for the Win. We put this process procedure up online and we just said, go get them. And next thing you know, people were sending FOIA requests everywhere. We were getting oaths of office piling into our, into our inbox. We were getting bonds. We were getting all these policies. And Anne is sitting here like the intelligent, beautiful genius she is, going through these complicated policies. And next thing you know, we were serving. And so it was like left and right. All these parents were serving, taking offense, saying, no, we're going to do this if you keep doing what you're doing. Next thing you know, the masks were removed in state by state by state. Next thing you know, Biden's removing the mask mandates for all 50 million children in America. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, that was a big move for him. It was a big counter move for him. What nerve are we touching here? What nerve did we just touch? Because Biden at the time had just spent $1.2 billion in ESSER funds funding these schools out of the guise of safety to push these narratives. And next thing you know, it was Canada that dropped the mask mandate. Then it was Europe. Then it was Australia. Next thing you know, the private schools dropped it. The colleges dropped it. The airlines dropped it. The department stores dropped it. It went worldwide. And I'm thinking, what do we just scratch away at the surface? Well, it turns out our audit proved not a single bond paid out, which means none of them are bonded. Not a single oath of office was signed to we the people. They were all signed to foreign corporations. We are dealing with an insurgency. So when we went to Maricopa County this last week, we served them with genuine papers. Look, you guys, unless you sign an oath of office to we the people, you're not our government. So you're masquerading as government. So what we did was we served them with a notice of liability. We said, each and every one of you, now think of 9 people up there, and they're tyrants, right? We can all agree they're tyrants. Absolutely. They are hurting and harming the 4.5 million people in Maricopa. They are masquerading as government because they've never signed an oath of office to us. So how can we even hold them accountable for anything unless they've ever signed an oath, right? Then you realize that they're all operating for a fake, phony, false corporate autocracy, which is not your republic.
Right.
So that's what we serve them. We serve them each with a $1.75 million liability per claim. Now, let me tell you, there's 4.5 million people in Maricopa. Do the math, guys. Do the math.
That's insane.
Right. And so what we're supposed to do to walk in sacred honor is we are supposed to debit the debtors of society. And we do that through the pen, the mighty pen. Okay. So when we serve them a notice, we're telling them, hey, you have 3 days to resign, or else I'm calling in the military, because this is a foreign insurrection and it's an act of war. We have an open border. We have children getting vaccinated from the moment they're born. We have this ridiculous narrative that this COVID vaccine is safe when we all know it's not. I commanded them to put out a public broadcast to notify the residents of the dangers of the vaccine. They did not do it, which means they're covering up high crimes. That means they're guilty of high crimes. And it's time to call in the military. And it's time to do this worldwide.
It's amazing. Like, just the goal and the courage that it takes for you to stand up against like all of this is astonishing. And I applaud you for all that you've done. You've started such a fire, under everybody. And you're the one that cleared the path for all of this. And it's so encouraging and motivating to see that it literally only took 2 people to start all of this, and it's just snowballed from there.
But you're just as brave. Everyone is just as brave. Everyone out there, we're calling on every podcaster to be just as brave, because we need backup. We need other lions. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
To come forth, because you yourself, you have a spiritual army. And we want everyone's spiritual army to come together now, because knowledge is power. And when we learn to stand in the sacred knowledge of even knowing and admitting, I was wrong by giving them the authority. I was actually wrong because I should have audited them from the beginning before I started begging and pleading with tyrants, right? This is more of a foreign insurgency. This is more of a redcoats holding position as government, acting as if they're our friends while they kill us. This is an act of war, and it's a very manipulative war, because the modern day bullet is a vaccine and the modern day weapon is a pen. They took us over with the pen. They turned us into debt slaves with the pen and with tacit agreements, because we all signed them. I'm guilty. I know better now, but I signed the birth certificates for my children. I signed a marriage certificate and handed over all property of the marriage to the state, including my children. I signed a mortgage agreement, didn't know it, but they stole my land, or at least they tried to claim my land. They didn't steal my land because they can't. We'll talk about that in a minute. But they stole my home, my car when I registered it. They've stolen everything from us. And now it's time to take it back. And it's time to do that by forging social compacts or PMAs, so that we can start to build a refuge to protect those that have been violated by this tyranny. And it isn't until we build those social compacts, those PMAs, that we can stand in honor. And so this week in Maricopa, I'm not going to go and negotiate with tyrants anymore, because that would be belligerent. Okay. And they think we're idiots. So I'm not going to show up in that corporate office again. You know why? It's not a public building. My taxpayer dollars did not pay for Maricopa. It turns out they're a private corporation. It's like going in Honeywell and demanding that I get to take over the meeting, right? Do you see how, see how it's a trap? So I went into the nest, we served them, but this time through, we're going to do it right. And this is what I recommend to people to do. We're going to create a peaceful transition of power, and it's all in the mind. So we're going to peacefully assemble at a church. We're going to have the open discussion about establishing that refuge called a PMA, Private Member Association, Social Compact. We're going to go in educated. We're going to go in with the proper paperwork. We're going to debit the debtors of society while rebuilding our republic, and we're going to let the military know what these people have done while we do what's right. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And you said that like you've seen, that the I'm trying to think of how to say it without basically, like, that the steps that you guys have taken and the steps that you've presented has worked, because you've seen the consequences of the people who didn't follow through necessarily. So what you're doing is making a positive impact and is 100% working. And that's one of the reasons why they are so afraid of, of you guys taking action, because they know what's coming.
Yeah. If everybody were to do this in every county, it would change everything in America.
Right.
And I feel like if we do it in America first, then we empower Canada, we empower Europe, and we already have so many countries ready to forge an alliance with the People's Operation Restoration. And our goal really is to just give everyone the information they need to command their armies. Like, these are the generals. All the freedom groups are generals. They've got an army of light. Each and every one of us, have to now come together, lock arms. Maybe we'll make some mistakes, but if we're willing to learn, and we're willing to change the equation, like, one of my favorite quotes of all time was Jack Handy. I don't know if you remember Saturday Night Live, Jack Handy. He said, this is totally showing my age, but I don't care. He goes, never argue with an idiot. Someone might see you and they might not be able to tell the difference.
Right. Yep.
We don't want to argue with pirates anymore, because pirates are pirates. They're going to keep being pirates. In a corporate environment, which is what they're in, that's every government, that's every school district, they're all corporations, that's every police precinct. They write every court, they write the rules, they move the goalposts. When they're writing the rules, you're in their sandbox, and they're in the lowest law of the land. They're in maritime. So the only way they can contract with you is if you're a fool and you think that you're a corporation. Because see, they're conning you every time you walk in that court. They're conning you. It's a big con job. And they can't con you if you know the con game. If you know how to play poker, they can't beat you. If you know their language, they can't beat you anymore. So when everyone learns how they were using deceit, to deceive us, and they're not there to uphold our rights. Now we know the game. Now we can win. Now we can play the 5D chess.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, once everybody stands up and says, like, no, we're not going to take this anymore, you know, the game's over. It's only a game as long as we continue to play by their rules, how they want it to be done. But once we stand up, we're like, you know what? No, like, no, then it's over. It's done. So everybody needs to stand up and everybody needs to take a look at what you guys have currently done, which is the People's Operation Restoration, correct?
Yeah. .com.
And what would people do? Like if somebody's watching this right now and has no idea how to do any of this, can you go through the steps?
Yes. Well, what we've done in the past as sovereign citizens, you know, living in America, let's just talk about America. We thought we were living in the land of the brave and the home of the free, right? We had no idea that there were all these tacit agreements. And tacit just means we signed it without really knowing we signed. And it's this it's almost like an acquiescence. And if we all really take a look at those agreements, what we have to do from this day forth is we have to understand everything we ever sign, because your signature is the most valuable thing you have. It's your sign of nature. And you should never you should never sign a document you haven't read. Now, I know they made those mortgage documents thick. I know when you have a baby, you're just so excited to give them the freedom of citizenship. So you're just signing because everyone else is.
Right.
But now we understand that that was all like entrapping us into slavery. And just so you know, all those agreements are null and void, and all fraud vitiates fraud, because in contract law, which contract law spans from trust law through common law through maritime, it's basically an overarching law. Contract law says you always have to have informed consent. And I don't think any one of us would have signed our children over to slavery if we had informed consent. And it also says there has to be 2 signatures, which there are not on any mortgage. So all of those agreements are actually fraud, which vitiates fraud and everything it ever touches. So what I'm saying is we have lawful standing to get out of every one of those contracts. It's just you have to work with lawful consultants who know that process so we can stay in honor. When we create a PMA in each of the counties, a private member association, aka a social compact, also known as an ecclesia, which is what Jesus was teaching, we can now hold sacred sovereignty within those groups, get out of all those contracts, and protect one another from future invasion. And if everyone joins that membership, they all enter into that sacred, you know what I mean? That sacred intent of getting ourselves out and rescinding all contracts, because all contracts are null and void. So I don't know about you, but I know for a fact that I don't want the state to own my children. I don't want the state to own my land. I would like to pass my land down to my heirs, because my works here matter.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a creditor. I'm not a debtor. You know why? Because I'm the one who puts the money in the bank account. I'm a creditor.
Yep.
I'm not a debt slave. Not in my heart, soul, mind, spirit. I'm a sovereign being. And from this day forth, I want to learn to walk in that. So I think this is an amazing human experiment, to be honest with you. I feel like this is now where we start to learn to walk, you know, and we have to learn from our mistakes. So as soon as we change our half of the equation, the whole entire system has to change. And as soon as everyone sees these crooks for what they really are, and we stop arguing about voter fraud, because quite frankly, we never had a vote.
Right. That's true.
I mean, do you have a vote for Honeywell?
Right. Exactly.
Their only job there is to fool us. It's like, here's DeSantis, right? He's this well-pedigreed, you know, puppet for, let's just say Honeywell. Let's just say any company. You can come with any company name. He's a puppet for Honeywell. He's not your governor. He's a puppet. And he's telling you he cares about you, yet he's covering up high crimes, right?
Yeah.
And he's not putting out a public broadcast of the dangers of the vaccine. Therefore, he's not working for you, and he's not taking your command. And he's never signed an oath of office to you, and he's never been properly bonded. He's illegitimate in every way. He's never signed an oath to a republic. He's signed an oath to a corporation. So why are we giving this man all this power? And why are we asking him to help us? It's like begging your captor to save you. He's a redcoat. He works for Great Britain.
It's just another way that we've been manipulated to and lied to about literally everything. And I think a lot of people are waking up more and more and seeing the truth. You know, we take a step back and we realize just how much we've been lied to in the past 3 or 4 years. And then you take a look at like the education system, for example, and we've been lied to about everything we were ever taught in school. And then it makes you think what else we've been lied to. So you know, like you said, all of these documents that you sign, starting literally at birth, it's just another way for them to kind of like be in control. And like you said, unless we do something, unless we put forth like the effort and band together and take back our country and take back our government and make them work for us, you know, this is the life that, you know, people are going to continue to live.
That's true. That's so true. And I truly believe that if you think of it like a Jenga game and you think of it like a pyramid, okay, the powers that be have been in control over this system for so long.
Exactly. Yep.
Just that moment of pause of the Great Awakening where we went, wait a minute here, you guys aren't so great. You're hurting people. Just the pause alone is enough for the power system to have to dial up the fear to keep control.
Which is exactly what happened.
Yes. And now we're like, I don't care anymore about your fear tactics. I care more about, the lives that are being genuinely hurt. I care more about the people dying than I do about, do you know what I mean? Even my ego right now. I care more about saving the people within my community than I do even about any egos whatsoever, or even about what I've done wrong up to this date. I want to do what's right so that I can save as many souls as I can. And that should be our new intention, right? I don't care what I've done wrong up to this date. I'm going to do what's right from this day forward with the knowledge that I have. So that power system had to dial up the fear. But I got to tell you, this pyramid is about to crumble because we're going to pull our attention out, and we're not going to give our attention to that fake, phony, false, corrupt, deep state, de facto corporation and corporate mafia / freaking crime syndicate anymore.
Right. Yep.
We're going to give it all to the Republic, which is the solution. And I don't think the powers that be can stop us.
No, not now. There's too many people that are awake, not woke, awake, and too many people that see what's going on, and too many people that are fed up with everything going on in this country, and they see just how corrupt everything and everybody is. A lot of people always say, oh, the system is broken, and the system's not broken because it's working exactly how they want it to work. And people have realized that, and that's whenever they're stepping up to bat and they're like, okay, you know what, it's my turn to step up and take one for the team, let's go.
Yeah, and there are people that haven't come up out of the private yet who have signed an oath to the Republic, like Jim Huguenin in Illinois. This man is so brave. I witnessed him as he signed into office using a justice of the peace, saying, I'm willing. And he's got a website called WeThePeopleDeclareFreedom.com. And there you can sign the new Declaration of Independence, and you can see Jim's work. He's got a tremendous amount of truth on that website. Jim just needs his people within Illinois to command him. That's all he needs. He's over here serving all this paperwork to the courts and the judges and all that, and they're not budging because it's like a man with a stick against a system. He needs people. He needs his army. He needs the body sovereign in the Republic. And we are the body sovereign. We are the body sovereign. We control the body politic. It's not the other way around. He needs a body sovereign to command him. But no one's recognizing him. And what we have to do now is we have to realize in our minds, we shouldn't give any commands to anyone who hasn't signed an oath to us.
Yep.
That's all there is to it. It's just like an employee agreement. If they don't sign the agreement, they're not your employee.
Yeah.
If they don't sign to be your body politic, you don't have anyone to uphold the Constitution. So we could be crying all day long about our Constitution, but we've never elected an official in any state to uphold it.
it's kind of makes you like take a step back and like, wow, you know what, that's really true. People don't hold those in a power position accountable because they don't want to, they don't want to be the one to challenge them or like I don't know, put their neck out on the line, but we need to keep their toes to the fire. We need to make sure that this is what they're doing. And you guys have created a system to show us how to do that.
Yeah,
And
and we've since taken the documents offline because people are just printing and signing and going, and they're getting themselves in trouble. We're still acting belligerent. They're not even reading the documents and updating who they're serving.
right.
So we've got to educate people. I mean, we have to slow way down. Take your signature seriously. You have to understand what you're serving now. So let's just break that down. What we served Maricopa County it's a notice of liability with an opportunity to cure. This is a yellow card. It is not a legal document. It's a warning of a coming legal document. It's saying, hey, if I were you, I'd run because we're about to call the military. And if I were you, maybe you didn't know better, but now you do. I wouldn't want to end up in Gitmo.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what they do to me in Gitmo. I wouldn't want to know. So I'm giving them a courtesy to say, look, you don't have an oath of office. You don't have a bond. I don't know if you know who you're working for or not, but you're covering up voter fraud because you have no evidence to prove that you've investigated it. So if you are who you say you are and you're not investigating, you're not doing your job, and now you're covering up high crimes, which is a high crime. It's an act of treason because they have the database of all 4.5 million. I don't. And then, and those are people that have corralled into that, by the way. We all did it. We didn't know. By registering with the state and registering to vote, we were giving them power in that corporation. The fourth thing we accuse them of is masquerading as government, because if you don't have an oath of office, you don't have a bond, you're not our government. You're not even our body politic. So now you're masquerading and saying you are, which is what a tyrant does.
Right.
So I warned them of those things, and we had a council of 12, meaning a jurat. So all 12 of us signed it, which means we've already come to the conclusion of what we believe to be true. You have to either rebut this, resign, or we're going to go ahead and serve you with some lawful documentation in the common law. We're leaving fake, phony, false maritime, and we're serving them a writ of quo warto and a waiver of tort, which is a common law action. Okay. And what that really is now it's saying, okay, we warned you, you didn't resign. Now we command you to give us your credentials. How many times, Courtney, have they pulled us over and they ask for our ID?
Right.
We don't ask for the police's ID. We don't ask for their credentials. Wait a minute. Who do you work for?
Yeah.
Are you working for the Republic, or are you working for a foreign corporation saying that you're my peace officer? And what are you going to do with my signature? Are you going to traffic me? Because there wasn't a victim when you pulled me over, and you're about to create a victim. So we have to notify, because remember, we got to do this kindly. Like, think of being a kind parent. You've been allowing them to run the house and rule the roost for a while. Now you're going to lay down the law. You don't just come in there with a whip. You come in there with some warnings. Okay, next time you get your hand in that cookie jar, this is what's going to happen. Here's going to be the consequence. You haven't had to face consequence yet. You've been running like the household, but now there's a new parent in town. We know better. We're going to do better. Here's your warning. And then the next step would be to send them the command. You better show your credentials now. And if they can't show the credentials, they're personally liable. So when they're personally liable and they don't show us credentials, which they can't rebut a single word we sent them because they have no proof of any of that. When they can't rebut, they go into default judgment, which is guilt. Okay. So if they do nothing, they fall into default judgment. Now they owe us the money and they need to be reported to the military.
It's so much, and I know that you guys listening for the first time, if you are brand new, just hearing this all for the first time, it's like such a shell shock because you realize that like everything is fake, everything is fraud, the government's fraud, and you made a documentary or a presentation that kind of goes into that, how we've only been taught at one level whenever there's like 3 different levels and 2 different kind of governments that we really need to realize is going on, correct?
Correct. And I wouldn't even call them a government. I would call them a foreign insurrection.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we're real government. The real government has just been vacated, which means all we have to do is reseat the republic. And that has happened. And as a matter of fact, Courtney, I don't know how deep you go into the JFK assassination, et cetera, but I don't know if people realize this. The republic was such a threat to the deep state that JFK Sr. had sent plans 1 week prior to the Navy to restore the 35 state republics. And then he was assassinated. So you have to realize how valuable this is. Lincoln moved all 35 state republics into a trust and set it up to the trust because he saw the writing on the wall. He knew we were being invaded with that Civil War. So he created a trust and he wrapped all 35 state republics in that trust, and he set it up to where the military is the trust protectors. Then he was assassinated. And that was all through the Gettysburg Address. So please understand, everyone, even Nixon was good. They produced that Watergate thing just like Russia to get him out of there. But he was actually doing what was right. And that, so you can always see the dark forces turning against the people, especially our past presidents, that were trying to do the right thing.
So,
and that's how valuable these republics are. Like, that's what people have to understand. The value of the republic is the biggest threat to the enemy. That should tell you something.
Do you see anybody specifically trying to take our country back to a republic?
I personally believe that just after that assassination for John F. Kennedy Sr., that the Navy did, in fact, all behind the scenes, restore the republics. They're reseating them. And out of necessity, you know, they're staying in the private in order to give Trump what he needed as far as backup to get every country to capitulate. So I believe the republics are still there. They're just sort of behind the surface. We gotta give them power. We have to start commanding those republics, because remember, those are our servants. And I think that the more we move forward, like Jim is an example in Illinois of one governor that's ready to come forth, take the crossfire, protect and serve his country. He's willing to risk his life, because, you know, you and I both know Chicago's pretty dark. I mean, these are some dark areas. He's willing to risk his life for the people. The people just have to now go be his shield. They're the ones who need to serve these foreign actors. And he has to be the one to do it with them, because he is now serving the people, not the foreign actors. So he is not afraid to serve any of this paperwork. He is fully educated on everything common law, everything republic, and he wants to be the man to help. But we need to get those armies of light in Illinois to even observe that he's there to help. Right now, they're giving all their attention to the fake, phony, false. And when you give where your attention goes, right, the energy flows, and that's what you manifest. If we keep just being belligerent and arguing with pirates, what are we going to get more of?
Right. No, that
Piracy.
makes sense. Yeah, exactly.
We got to go invest in what we believe in. And that is what our forefathers set up. And imagine how hard it was for them to leave Great Britain, to come over here, to forge an alliance, to get people to agree to even invent a republic and to stand in it. Now we can look at it and go, wait, they already laid the foundation. All we need to do now is address the foundation they set, look at the current threats, because now we have a threat of a massive media machine that probably wasn't addressed in the original constitutions that need to be addressed now, because it isn't just about fair speech. We got to control press. If press is going to go off and spread wartime propaganda, that's a problem. That causes war. We can't have war being caused by press. So I think our newer constitutions are going to have to even be more all-encompassing now that we know how our enemy operates. But now we have that opportunity. We have that opportunity to rewrite our constitution in each state, because each state was its own sovereign nation, just like Europe. It was its own country. We only formed a union to protect against a foreign invasion to the United States or to America. We didn't give power to the union to control the states. We never granted that power. In other words, Trump doesn't have jurisdiction. It's all about jurisdiction. It's not about authority. It's about jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
And we have higher jurisdiction than all the corporations. Why? Because we're living. No one can prove you're not living. And because we're on land. And this is the law of the land, not the law of the high sea. You see how pirates in a pirate ship, they can make up their own rules.
Yeah.
You get on their pirate ship, it's their freaking rules. All they did was dock a bunch of pirate ships in our home, in our counties and cities. So I want everyone to just picture Maricopa County and picture one pirate ship in the middle. And there's 9 guys on there and about 20 RoboCops. And they're raping and pillaging all 4.5 million people. Now I want you to imagine a sanctuary right next door. We're going to roll back in that sanctuary, and it's of the golden light. It's like a golden shield, right? And when you enter into this golden bubble of protection, we can expand that bubble to cover the whole county, and we can run these pirates out. And they can't claim our land, and they can't claim our children, and they can't claim our homes anymore because we know better. Does that make sense? And if
Yeah,
we can get
absolutely.
a third of the counties in Arizona, if we can get a third of them, and in Arizona, we only have 15 counties. We only need to get 10 counties. Then we have the jurisdiction to call upon the military to run the pirates out. But in the meantime, we need to use the mighty pen. We got to notify the pirates of who they are and who we are. We got to put them on public notice, and then, which I did. And then we've got to put them in debt.
Yeah.
And it's not about the money. It's about the principle.
Mm-hmm.
Because they put us in debt, right? And they're the ones causing havoc, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, could people take what you guys have done? Could people take that and show up in DC and serve everybody there?
Well,
Is that a thing?
DC is not where we have jurisdiction. You have jurisdiction in your county and in your state. That's the only place we, the people, have jurisdiction. DC doesn't even have jurisdiction. And by the way, they have been dissolved.
Right.
Trump dissolved that corporation. So how much time are we going to spend on a dissolved corporation that we don't have jurisdiction over? You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone could start serving Biden today, but really where you have your power is locally. You know what I'm saying? Because each state is its own sovereign nation. You don't need to beg and plead to the nation who they may be terrorizing your people. And yes, we could pile up debt instruments on DC for sure. And I'm not saying not to. But what I'm saying is better is to take out the bottom part of that pyramid and let the whole thing crumble. So it's kind of like if you notify, like, we all know McDonald's is pretty bad for us. And we know they're really nefarious, and what they're actually putting in the food is very dangerous. If you serve the employee at McDonald's and you tell them, hey, did you know you're working for a company that's actually poisoning the people? And everyone leaves McDonald's, there's no more McDonald's.
Yeah.
But we have to serve them now. So really what we have is not a war between good and evil. We have a parting of the Red Sea, but it's mostly a war between the awakened and the unawakened. We were all asleep at one point. I was fast asleep up till 2020.
Yeah.
2020 is perfect vision for a reason. And I was fast asleep. I didn't know better, so I couldn't do better. But now I wonder, why didn't we serve every family practitioner and let them know the dangers? Why didn't we bring them the research? We were doing the research, but why didn't we bring that to them? We considered them to be evil without even notifying them. And that's not right either. We should have notified them. We should have brought them waivers and forms to have their patients fill out so that they don't carry the liability. Every doctor is terrified of liability.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing that the school boards couldn't believe. Their insurance policies, their liability policies, they were calling them, they're like, we don't cover you for criminal liability. You're practicing medicine without a license. We don't cover that. If you kill children, we don't cover that. That's like saying you want to be covered for rape or something. A teacher rapes a kid. We don't cover that. That's when they realized that the powers that be were going to leave them out to dry.
Yeah, just going back to, providing people, or like you said, doctors, But even like the people who were forced for the weekly testing or to get vaccinated from your employer, I was fired for not complying with that, and I sent tons of documentation to our HR and our safety and our district managers, and they just kind of pushed it all aside and said that like it was a company policy, that my articles and information was invalid. I'm like, what do you mean it's invalid? Like, no, it's not invalid. Just read it. What you're doing is wrong.
Mm.
So, in my, whenever I tried to give them all that information, they just kind of ignored it. But, you have to think like, what if everybody would have stood up all at once and done the same thing? Like, they can't say no to all of us because, what I said before, like, if we say no, we're not doing it, then, they have nothing to fall back on. They have nobody to push around anymore.
Right.
It's so important.
Well, I think the other piece of it is letting them know they're personally liable. So it's one thing to say, hey, what you're doing is wrong. It's another thing to stand in common law, because in common law, everyone's personally liable. I don't care who you work for.
Yeah.
Your employer is not God. And if your employer is telling you to murder people, then you're giving power to an employer and not to God, right? Because it goes against the 10 Commandments. So you see how the devil flipped it?
Yeah.
Like he made us think the employer was God. And to keep your job, you have to do this.
Right.
Okay. So what we should be doing is putting personal liability on every single person who is part of it. So you, boss man, whatever your name is, you're personally liable for any deaths from this action from this day forth. So this is a good, I think this is a good analogy. I'm telling everyone this because in the common law, it's trial by peers. So we threw a trial by peers with children. And we said, you've got a nurse on the stand. She's killed 100 people. She's crying. Her medical board said it was safe. Her doctor said it was safe. Google said it was safe. Media said it was safe. She thought she was saving lives. And now she's bawling because she realized she killed 100 people. And I said, is she guilty or innocent? And they all said, innocent. And I said, okay, well, let's say we gave her a notice and we told her they're going to kill people and here's all the proof. And that if she continues, she's personally liable. Let's say she kept injecting people from this day forth. Let's say she comes back and she killed another 100 people. Is she guilty now? And they said, yes. Now she's guilty. So what changed? We served her.
Right.
And I know it's confrontational and I know it's not easy, but these groups and all the people out there, it's time for us to serve them, to stop the madness and wake them up and give them documentaries and give them an opportunity to cure, give them even maybe a place to land. Like, okay, Mr. Police Officer, you might not have known you were taking a personal liability of $1 million for every single traffic violation you handed out because you're technically trafficking people. Once they know better, they can do better. We have to give them an opportunity to sign an oath to we the people, to come over to the de jure, to a de jure police precinct that's working for the Republic. And it turns out there's 18,000 police precincts. They're all operating as corporations. We live in a free market. We can launch de jure police precincts just as easily as the devil can. And once you have 40 people in the precinct, you get federal funding. Now you have cops working for you. You gave them a choice. They made the right choice. They didn't continue to push agendas. They came over to the light. And that's what we have to do. We have to give them an opportunity now because we've all been lied to. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. We really just have to put out the misinformation. Do you know what I'm saying? And by doing this, by taking this right action, we will get a completely different result than what we've been getting for the last 4 years.
It's amazing. Like just how much you realize that you really don't know what you don't know until you like dive head first so deep into it. You just like engulf yourself with all the information. And people can find that on the websites that you have right now, correct?
Yeah, they can find it on the People's Operation Restoration. Our goal is to train all the freedom groups so they can train their groups. Our goal is to merge them because a lot of them are working in silos and they don't realize, oh my gosh, they're doing the same thing. They're having success over here. We should Put all the ideas on the table and let the best ideas rise.
Right.
Iron sharpening iron. No egos. All egos left at the door, because all we all want is the same thing, and that's world peace. We want to see people stop getting injected. We want to see, we want to see peace. And so to bring about that peace, we have to learn how to walk in sacred honor. And in order to do that, it's all about establishing our social compacts. People can't call them kings or queens if they're not ready to protect their kingdom.
That's a good point. I like that. So what is next for you? I'm not going to keep you much longer. I know you're busy, but what is next for you? What is next for like this movement that you are, like blazing through with?
Well, we're going to teach the people how to take right action. We're going to show them by example in Maricopa County. So in the next meeting, which is March 13th, we're going to peacefully assemble. We're going to read the preamble for the social compact that we want to set up on behalf of Maricopa County. We want to bring in de jure sheriffs like Sheriff Lanka. And we want to bring in people like Sheriff Tony, and Sheriff Joshua James in Texas. We want to teach the people what real de jure sheriffs do. We want to teach the people what we can do within this sanctuary and this private member association. And then we're going to get as many councils of 12 as we can to serve the tyrants with even more notices. And we're going to pile it up as high as we can go. If I can get 5,000 people serving in Maricopa, that would be awesome, because we're going to pile up their debt. And by the way, I made $15 million just serving them. And see, those are debt instruments that I see the value in. They were pooling our debt instruments and selling them in bundles. I can do the same.
Right.
We're just debting the debtors of society. And if I make the 15 million, I'm going to turn it right back into the PMA.
So everybody listening, you need to do this. You need to, find your God courage and step up to bat, be a leader in your community. Do this. Everybody can do what Miki has done. It just takes the courage and the goal to do so.
And we've got the people on the front line that have established these processes and procedures, and they're solid. You know what I'm saying? Like, they know how to get your land patent back.
Right.
They know how to help you set up a trust so that, and it's a 10-page document, guys. It's so simple. They know how to help us set up private bank accounts so that we are the beneficiaries of our money, not the deep state. Because when you set up a public bank account, you're actually giving them a loan.
Right.
And so we can't keep lending our money. We can't keep allowing them to steal our land through tacit agreements. We have to stop being naive. And we really did trust authority, like maybe too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
We need to become the authority. We are the authority. We are the body sovereign. That's the beauty of what the forefathers set up. And I hope every other country does the same, because this is how you maintain peace. I've been telling people there's 4 forms of government. I'll go over these quick. The first 2 take you to a utopian society, and the next 2 take you to a dystopian society. The most utopian society we can live in is a self-governance, because when everyone's needs are met throughout the world, they don't even need government. They can run their own cities. They're fine. We live like packs of wolves. They don't need governments.
Right. Yep.
Right? In nature, owls don't rule over other owls. No one can claim anyone, right? And next form of a utopian society would be a republic, where we, the people, are the body sovereign and we control the body politic. It's we, the people, and then the government. The next form of dystopian would be a democracy. Okay, that's where the government's in control. We're begging them to help us, and it's a majority vote. Well, in a majority vote, no one's voting for the little guy.
Yeah.
So in the original republic, you had representatives to represent each party. You didn't have just this big majority vote, because a majority vote ends up almost always leading to a disparity of wealth between the poor and the rich. So that's going to lead you into an even more dystopian form of government, which would be any ism: fascism, communism, Marxism, capitalism, and the list goes on. And I could even say an even worse slip would be a one world government, which is where we were, because the Queen owns all of us, because she claimed us. The Pope claimed us. So in the end of the day, to go back to a utopian society, we almost have to restore republics worldwide. And that would be the first start. And then we would preferably ascend into self-governance, because no one has to go hungry on this planet. No one has to go without water, not with all the resources that we have.
Absolutely. And can you, for the audience, one more time, just give those the websites where people can find, you just did a 2-hour presentation you were telling me about before we started recording. Everybody needs to go watch it. Valuable information, you guys.
Yeah, you can find us on the People's OperationRestoration.com. All of our Rumble channels are up there. And I just posted that video to Rumble. So if anyone's looking for it, it's basically, you can pull it back up, but you can also maybe link it below, because I just posted it yesterday. So that video's on Rumble. And like I said, we got all the freedom groups to join that. So we're teaching the generals in that meeting. We're not talking to just anybody. We're teaching the generals on how to command their own army. And we hope that the generals get educated so they can put out their own educational material, so that they can start watching. And we really need help, on the front lines, all the people that know this information inside and out, to start new Telegram channels so that people can follow it and learn the same way we've been learning for the last year. I've been getting it drip fed to me because I know what channels to follow. That's how I can stand in this knowledge, is because I've watched so many videos about it. And so if this is just the year of disclosure around common law, finance, because we do need to learn now how to manage our wealth. We just have been really dumbed down when it comes to finance. We're not debtors. We are creditors. We are living in abundance. All we have to do is know that in our hearts, and you will manifest it in reality, because you are an abundant, limitless being. You are multidimensional. Do you know what I mean? And then from there, I feel like we all collectively manifest a new reality. We manifest that kingdom of heaven on earth.
You guys, I know it's a lot to take in, a lot to learn, but it's going to be worth it. Once we all stand up and just say no and take it into our own hands, it's going to be so different. It's already made such a difference, and it can only increase the positive outcomes. Miki, thank you so much for your time. I will link all of those links in the description below, and they'll be in the show notes. Also, after the interview, I'm going to put in 4 of the videos that have gone absolutely viral, that are showing everything in chronological order, and some other things that Miki has sent. You guys take notes on this, share it with all your friends. Go to her websites, watch the presentation, learn all the things, join the telegrams, everything. And you guys can start doing good for your own community, because that's what it takes, courage and somebody willing to do it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Courtney.
Thank you so much for your time, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are not already, make sure that you follow and subscribe to the podcast, and I will see you in the next episode. God bless you. God bless this country, and together we're Patriot strong. Bye, guys.
All humble ourselves and resolve to rightfully understand everyone's rights in the context of this meeting, and the meeting rules must follow accordingly, because this meeting belongs to both of us on both sides of the dais.
Whisper, whisper, whisper.
So with all of those things in mind, Marbury versus Madison, Arizona Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, Arizona Constitution, Article 2, Section 2, we're just, reinstating the that we are giving notice, please, to correct this action and give us our time. We want access. Thank you.
Yes.
I'd like to call on our county attorney to talk to us a little bit about the open meeting law rules. And
Marbury versus Madison overrides any of your decorum or your made-up rules.
this meeting is now adjourned.
Sellers running for the hills. We the people will have answers.
You are being served. You are being served. You are being served. You are being served. You are being served.
You will go to the other side of this board.
You are being served.
We will vote in new officials.
It shouldn't be like
Howard.
this. It shouldn't be hostile like this. It's only like this.
You are Howard. You are treasonous.
It's only like this because of you guys, because you're corrupt. It shouldn't be like this.
William,
Stay out here, do your job.
Sovereigns are ready to go ahead and hold meetings. Since they have vacated, we are ready to go ahead and sign in volunteers. All right. No, we don't. Out of necessity for the Republic of Arizona, it is our job.
I have to clear that out. I apologize.
Then you are in
Start
direct
putting us all in
violation.
custody.
You are now committing an act of treason. This is my right to free speech, sir.
They're out. They're out. You've done your job. Protected them. They're
12 signatures, which means each individual person is personally liable for over $21 million just from this paperwork. And guess what? We, the people, as body sovereign, we're really good at gathering signatures. So I'm sure we can go gather another 30,000 if they'd like. Once they go into default and they don't respond to our opportunity to cure, which is to resign within minutes, they need to resign within 3 days. If they don't resign within 3 days, they will be personally served with a writ of quo warranto and an opportunity, again, to rebut any one of our claims, which I'm making right now. None of them have signed an oath of office. None of them are bonded to we the people. All of them are foreign invaders acting as government. They are not our government. Therefore, we will be serving them a writ of quo warranto with a waiver of tort, and if they still do not rebut, we'll be notifying the military, and they can be hauled off, to a military tribunal, and I think we all know the penalty for treason. Thank you.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Michelle Klan, and I'm here today to put you on public notice, and I'm here to inform you that you are not our elected officials. None of you have ever signed an oath of office to the Republic of Arizona. Instead, you've signed an oath of office to a foreign corporation, which means this is an act of insurrection. You do not have a proper bond carrying surety for our actions for we the people. Due to the voter fraud, you've never been formally voted in. Acting as if you are authority over the people is a direct act of treason. Today, the body sovereign and are presenting with you each a notice of liability and an opportunity to cure. The fine is $1.7 million per claim, and there are 12 signatures, which means you're each personally liable for over $21 million. If you do not resign within 3 days, you will be presented with a writ of quo warranto and a waiver of tort. If you do not rebut these truths, you will remain in office. We will be notifying the military, and your act of treason will be grounds for an immediate military tribunal. We do not need to tell you the penalties for treason. We, the body sovereign, hereby command you to resign within 3 days or else face the consequence. I am also here today to hand you this jump drive, which contains a 5,000-page document notifying you of all the dangers of the COVID vaccine and the poison in the water, to name a few. These are high crimes and acts against humanity. If you cover up high crimes, you'll be held guilty of committing acts of humanity yourselves. Therefore, I hereby command you to send a public broadcast to every single resident in Maricopa County, notifying them of these dangers. And within the next 3 days, if you do not do this, you will be in direct violation of your supposed duty, making you even more accountable for your actions. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Each and every one of you have been served. Thank you very much.
And we the people, we did not clear out. Now we're going to go and serve them.
Hey, careful.
Oops. All right, here we go. We're coming over and we're serving them on the 7th floor. They think they're going to get out of this serving. That ain't going to happen. Here we go.
So good when they shut us off like that. It just shows how big of cockroaches they are. They love to run.
Yes.
They love to block your freedom of speech. They want you to think you don't just have to serve some papers. You can serve papers anywhere, guys. You could just send them to the public buildings. They're served.
But it's always much more personal when you take it in.
They're all personalizable. They all have home addresses, and the military will find them.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, but you can do it from here. Okay, great. Here we go. 7th floor.
Welcome to the next generation of warfare, psychological warfare. In modern conflict, the mind is a potent weapon. Discover General Michael T. Flynn's groundbreaking guide, A Citizen's Guide to 5th Generation Warfare. Unlock tactics, strategies, and the mindset to navigate this cognitive battlefield that we all find ourselves in. Equip yourself against manipulation and emerge unscathed. Unleash your potential. Order now.